All right. Hi, everybody. Our project takes a look at the link between exercise and COVID-19 symptoms. So first, a little bit of background information on research that's already been done into this area. The literature indicates that there is a multitude of benefits on immune function from exercise, one of which is an augmentation of the innate and the adaptive immune responses. These involve cells like neutrophils, natural killer cells, T cells. Exercise has also been shown to protect against oxidative stress from radical oxygen species, which are produced in very large amounts during COVID infection. And it's also been shown to counteract the pro-inflammatory effects of cytokine release syndrome, also called cytokine storm, via the release of anti-inflammatory cytokines. COVID also disrupts the balance between the inflammatory and the anti-inflammatory pathways of the renin-angiotensin system. Exercise has been shown to restore that balance, as well as improve mitochondrial fitness, which is important for antiviral activity, and enhance vaccine efficacy for vaccines for other diseases. And so all of these cellular and systemic benefits produce a significant reduction in hospitalization that's associated with almost any amount of exercise. So for example, there was a large study of over 48,000 patients that found that consistent inactivity was associated with a 120% increase in hospitalization and a 110% increase in critical care admission compared to exercise anywhere from 11 minutes to 149 minutes per week. And those differences are even more pronounced as you exercise more than 150 minutes per week. And in addition to these protective benefits during acute infection, exercise has also shown value in rehabilitation. Concurrent rehab programs have improved outcomes post-infection and may also be indicated for long COVID. And so going forward, more data that corroborates these data would be useful and would also be useful for more specifically pinpointing the type, the duration, and the intensity of exercise program that has the greatest protective and rehabilitative effects.
All right, so moving on to the purpose of our experiment. So for our study, it was to investigate the effects of regular exercise on COVID-19 symptoms. So what we mean by this is that we're looking into people who regularly exercise. Would it be possible for their symptoms to be less severe? We sure think so, but we're attempting to test this. So we also wanted to look at the long-term benefits because that is something that has not been really touched on as the COVID-19 pandemic is still only a couple years old. It's definitely something to look into. So we are wanting to see if regular exercise would also have long-term benefits against people with more chronic symptoms that just won't seem to go away. Okay, looking at our study population. So our study aims to look at college-age students around 18 to 24. If it's a little outside of that range, that's fine too. But mainly young adults that have once contracted COVID-19 or currently has COVID-19. So this age range would limit the amount of age-related diseases that could influence the results of our study, and also decreases the likelihood of any other comorbidities that we have not looked into.
So for our methods, and just to give an overview of how we came up with our research, our data was collected through a survey link that we made on RedCap that was sent out to individuals through word of mouth, emails, social media, and different group messages. Our survey starts off covering some basic demographics to get information from our study population, such as age, height, weight, race, ethnicity, and if they ever tested positive for COVID-19. If they have tested positive, we ask them more questions that help show any correlation between exercise and COVID-19 symptoms, such as severity of their symptoms, duration of their symptoms, vaccination status, any pre-existing conditions, how many hours of sleep they get per night on average, how many times per week they perform a certain exercise, including the amount in minutes they do this type of exercise per day. The different types of exercise we included fell under the categories of aerobic exercise, balance training, strength training, or if you participate in team sports. We used a rate of perceived exertion scale to rate their intensity of the exercise they performed each week. 10 meaning max effort, meaning you're completely out of breath and can't maintain this intensity for more than a certain amount of time, to 1 being hardly any exertion, but more than being sedentary, such as watching TV or sleeping.
anticipated results. We anticipate as the more someone exercises, the less severe their COVID-19 symptoms will be. We all know exercising improves cardiovascular health and respiratory system health. COVID-19 affects older people more than it affects people of younger age because older people live a more sedentary lifestyle. Therefore, cardiovascular and respiratory health have a direct impact on COVID-19 symptoms, and your symptoms can be reduced through exercise.
Initially, upon collecting the data, we averaged out the symptom severity of all the subjects who tested positive for COVID, and then taking the average of the intensity of the aerobic style activities they're involved with. They're paired up on this bar chart, and upon initial visual observation, there's not a clear correlation between exercise intensity and COVID symptom intensity, but we still need to confirm this with statistical testing.
Now we will go ahead and touch on the limitations of our study. It was only sent to close personal connections and emailed throughout the health science undergraduate students. So this caused us to have a pretty small sample size, and the small sample size might lead to a lack of statistical relevance. Another issue that we might run into is incomplete surveys. So some of the data may not be used or reliable if surveys were not completed fully, and this is also going to reduce our sample size. Now we'll go ahead and look into other factors that we could have looked into. So we would have liked to look into nutrition, such as people's day-to-day diets, how safe their exercise environment is, so if they're able to go outside wherever they live and exercise safely, and if their economic status would be able to help support them to be able to afford treatments or have reliable health insurance. The survey length, that was also one of our limitations because we wanted to keep it short to try to get the highest completion rate. So we didn't get to ask as many questions as we would have. As a result of these limitations, we may be able to show correlation between exercise and COVID symptoms, but we will not have proof for causation.